Hi guys! Jake and Marisa back again for more live reactions to Uchu Sentai Kyuranger.
For the last time.
Yeah, that's right. We're on the last Uchu Sentai Kyuranger.
And then I guess it's Lupin Ranger after that.
Lupin Ranger versus Pot Ranger.
Lupin Ranger.
Versus
I know who I'm rooting for.
That's such a long title. We're gonna need to get used to that title next time. It's just gonna take up our entire, all our characters.
Welcome back to live reactions to Uchu Sentai, because it's actually blank Sentai.
Yeah, because it's like Kaizutsu. It's like, I don't know, Kaita Sentai Lupin Ranger and Kaizutsu Sentai Pot Ranger, something like that. I'm not sure what the I may have just.
Look, they're blank Sentai Lupin Ranger, blank Sentai.
It's just going to take up all the characters.
Because there's always a blank Sentai Bloody Ranger. That's how it goes.
I think I'll probably just, when we do it, we'll just do the Lupin versus Pot Ranger, because I'm not going to, I'm going to hit a character limit on YouTube otherwise.
Uchu Sentai Kyuranger.
That one's short enough, we can work with that.
That doesn't mean we can't say the title.
Oh yes, I know. But it's occurring to me that for the next season, it would take up the entire character limit, probably, which is hilarious. Or at the very least, trying to also fit in the episode name with it.
So it's Tuesday evening now. We couldn't possibly do this tomorrow morning because it's the last episode.
Yeah, we don't want to.
And we can't run into Marisa's got to go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Little tired.
Unless this discussion goes a really, really long time.
If that happens, then I think you're gonna reach some sort of bizarro YouTube time limit.
I don't think they don't. I've seen 10-hour things on YouTube.
That's true. There's 10 hours of diggy holes. So
or whatever. So and you need to go to work in under 10 hours. So
Jacob, if this takes more than 2 hours, I will be going to sleep and you can finish the rest of the video.
Yeah, that's not. It'll probably be.
They average one, so for a finale, maybe.
It probably won't be going that long. We'll see. You'll already know because
they already know because they can see.
We don't know.
They can see the underneath, so you don't have to be all no, I promise it won't be 2 hours. They can see.
Yeah, maybe it'll be 35 minutes. We finished the episode. Yeah, we're done. All right. But no, it's been a fun ride though, because this has been our first time watching a Sentai as it's been coming out for either of us.
Yep.
We've watched entire Sentai series before. My first one was Aba Ranger back in college.
I never finished Magi Ranger.
And then I watched Go Busters later.
You had me watch Go Busters.
And I had you watch Go Busters as well.
That was really good. I think it might be my favorite Sentai. I really like Magi Ranger, but it's not as good as Go Busters. I love Go Busters.
But you
want to go back and finish Magi Ranger.
You never finished Magi Ranger, so we don't know.
I think I do. I think just the flavor and premise of the show for Go Busters, I think I prefer to the Magi Ranger. That being said, I do want to finish Magi Ranger.
Yeah, and we'll see how the finale of Kyuranger goes.
I'm not so sure I really need to finish Shinkanger. Considering how heavily they borrowed from it, I'm pretty much spoiled anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. As far as I can gather, it's mostly just they executed everything better.
I just need to finish Magi Ranger, though.
Yeah. But yeah, despite my, obsession with Power Rangers over the years, I have not actually seen that much Sentai.
Yeah, well, part of it is that you've always tried to avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
By not watching Sentai until after they've been made into Power Rangers.
Yep. And
this time we're doing it before.
Yeah. To sort of change things up, I figure, you know what, I'll give it a shot this time.
We also did that with Shinkanger to a degree, but that's because we thought the Power Rangers were dead.
Yeah, we didn't think there was going to be a Power Ranger season.
And we stopped watching it as soon as we found that there would be.
And now we've had 8 more Power Rangers. We're on our 8th Power Ranger season since we thought it was done.
Still haven't finished Shinkanger, but I really don't feel like it too, but I want to finish Magi Ranger.
Fair enough.
But they took it off of YouTube.
But yeah, and so this has been a new experience that we've gotten to go through together. It's been nice. And we're looking forward to continuing it, actually, with Lupin Ranger versus Pot Ranger. Which we weren't sure at first if we were going to, until we got into Kyuranger. We weren't sure if this was something that was going to be a one-shot experiment.
Also, we did the first episode of Kyuranger, we weren't sure if we were even going to do the whole series or whether it was just that one special.
Yeah. And we were like,
you
we're down for
you
this.
put that under Jake Says Hi.
No.
Yeah,
no,
you
this,
did.
No, you're thinking of the first episode of Dino Charge.
Oh,
This
First live
one had
reaction.
its own.
You're right.
Yeah. Which was quite a while ago now. That was 3 years ago now.
Yeah, at some point, I
It's hard to
decided to actually start,
It's hard to believe how many live reactions we've been doing.
Well, at the
done now.
beginning, I was just sort of like, okay, we're doing this, and you just set the thing up around me while I was on the couch in my pajamas.
Yeah.
And these days, I'm kind of like, oh, we gotta make a video. I better go get dressed.
Yeah.
Brush my hair, brush my teeth.
But anywho, probably been talking enough about the live reactions. We should actually start reacting
lively.
to something in a lively manner. Yes, indeed.
Yes, live reactions.
So here we are, the series finale of Uchu Sentai Kyuranger, Space 48, Echo Throughout the Universe, Yoshalaki, Magical Sound. It actually said all right, Lucky, but you know they meant Yoshalaki.
Oh,
You don't accept a universe where you are the universe. Universe. You're
Raptor's
not.
got these Mickey Mouse shoes.
Who does?
Raptor.
Yeah, a little bit. That has always been kind of the premise. The universe does not belong to just one person. And we are kind of reaching the culmination of that. Them all running from a back explosion.
I was actually saying rather specifically look at
Nice.
Raptor and Champ
Oh yeah?
trying to look cool running from an explosion. Guy who's in a fursuit, he's moving, but
Nice. Nice with all the
Champ and Raptor are
Instamorphs.
fighting against their
What's up?
rubber suit joints.
Super Saber Chain. There we go,
They
testing.
must have an unwieldy amount of laundry to do with that guy.
It falls into cruel clutches when its inhabitants are in sorrow. Then, by the power of the Q-Globes, 12 ultimate saviors will appear to save the universe. Kyuranger.
No song today.
Nope. Yeah, we're just jumping right in there. But I got to do the opening little narration one last time. That's nice.
Yeah, over somebody who is doing it differently than usual.
Yeah, it was different because they haven't done it in so long. They didn't originally have the 12 saviors.
It wasn't just the video, the talkie guy.
Yeah.
He was far more exciting than usual. He was usually, this is the
Let's
voyages of the
show
Starship
it.
Enterprise. I was like, whoa, this is the voyages, the Starship, whoa! Are you kidding me?
We jinxed it. Really? 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 Really?
We actually did pre-play this. Past this point.
No, not past this point. Oh, I don't believe this, really. Alright, I'm just going to refresh real quick. Well, here's the ironic thing. Was you said, oh no, we've played it long enough, we'll be fine. It hasn't happened the last few weeks, we'll be fine.
That's what I said. I was wrong.
And then it gets to the 2-minute mark. And there it goes.
What did I run into?
What, did you bang yourself?
I got a little purple bruise. It's tiny. Like I ran into, like, I don't know, a pole this big.
You know what? There we go. Oops, sorry. I was just trying to cue it back up to where it was. Cue. Okay, now I'm back at 2 minutes. Okay, let's show him who it sucks to be, Valen. Sucks to be him.
It sucks to be him.
I'd like to see Naga and Balance and Avenue Q.
Yeah.
Nice use of chameleon powers. This is fun. A battle of the 12 saviors.
They could be.
Okay, this is a pretty great fight right now.
They're not Bert and Ernie. They are
Rod and Nicky.
Yeah, they could be Rod and Nicky.
They're totally Rod and Nicky.
I know.
Well, not.
But the question of
only in terms of the closeness of the relationship, not in terms of the actual character dynamics. Because neither of them are. It's not the slob versus snob dynamic.
No, but it definitely is best buddies who have awkward sexual tension.
That was a big attack.
Although the latter thing might just be something the fandom keeps reading into it, but all that fandom.
Yeah, he's sucked up everybody else in the universe. That's a lot of people. Agony inside his body for all time. That doesn't sound very pleasant.
Yeah, these people who suck up everybody in the universe and destroy everybody else in the universe. It's like, don't you think you're gonna get kind of bored and lonely after a while?
It's the whole, recreating the universe in my image. Building a universe takes a long time. That could keep you busy for a really long time.
Please.
Like, people spend years on model train sets.
I was about to say, do you know how long Molly and I have...
Oh! He was born from the worst luck possible in the universe. The pain and suffering of the universe is what gave rise to his existence. Interesting. He has an origin.
He doesn't want to make a better world. He wants to make an even worse world.
He's the suffering of the universe made manifest. Thank you! He has an origin!
As I was saying, me and my friend have been working on the same village in Minecraft for years, so... Yeah. It takes a long time to build a universe.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. They're all going, what's the point? He's literally attacking them with depression.
That's amazing.
She was never born.
Can be done. Oh, wow. Yoshilaki. They got it. That's the way to fight it. That makes sense.
Good luck.
Yeah. Yoshi has his super optimism powers. That's work. That
Wait,
is.
I think he is. In other words, it's something you make for yourself.
Right.
Do you believe these are all going to be relative? Yeah, she writes her dreams and they came true.
You get what you want for yourself. You're not alone.
You have friends with you. He said nakama.
Yep.
I didn't say tomodachi.
Oh, this is great. I really like how character driven this is right now. This is great. Yeah. Makes people smile. She helps someone find their voice.
You'll become the shield that makes...
Yeah. Good. Character-driven climax.
I would also say that you look at these guys like fighting like this and standing up under this onslaught of like dark power that's making it physically hard for them to stand up and say these things.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I need to get
Hey,
this
we had Hoshi Minato
to explain what it's like trying to fight depression.
Yeah. They literally fought off depression.
Now
he was depressing them with depression.
That is a seriously difficult big bad.
Yep.
He is essentially, he's depression.
Yeah.
They've been fighting depression.
And not just that, but the depression of the universe.
Depression, despair, anxiety.
And that is what they've been fighting all season.
Yeah, but
They've been the shining beacons of hope.
hope.
And they get to do all their roll call with.
I'm careless about the roll call right now.
Well, the thing is that right now they're doing the roll call that they normally do morphed as themselves, which is always wonderful as a final moment. See? And now they morph again. Oh, pretty. Shiny.
And all those things that they were fighting with, you know, like having friends to support you and, you know, believing that you have agency in the universe and that you're never too small. These are the kinds of thoughts one needs. And one needs to think them as aggressively and hard as they did, because it's not an easy thing to do. You can't just pop up and just say the thing and be okay. There's that whole visual of everyone like, oh!
And now Don Armage may be drawing off all the negative energy.
But they're fighting back with all the positive energy.
And they've actually managed to inspire in everybody else, which has given them a boost. So
the universe is escaping from within me!
The universe has united behind the Kyurangers.
You're not the universe. The universe belongs to everyone.
Yes. I still love that his Supreme Q Thomas says, "What's up?" It's just hilarious to me.
I mean, they're gonna have to Megazord battle him, right?
Not necessarily.
Unless we're gonna have some serious denouement, which I'm all for.
I mean, you got 12 characters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd be all for some serious denouement. Show everyone how they all get to have.
Oh, he fights back. Oh, are we getting a little beam of war going on?
I was gonna say, this is like Battle of the Wands in Harry Potter.
Yep. Oh! Whoa, what's happening now? Okay, now he does go giant.
It's not easy to fight that sort of thing. It comes back bigger and stronger. And you can't do it alone.
That's right.
You can't do it alone. You need a support system.
Yep.
And that they have that in each other.
Hey, Kitamajin. I like Kitamajin. Nice. That's one of the reasons I like Kitamajin, to actually have all 12 in there.
And it's still, you know, relatively motile.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the problem that Ultra Zord has.
Oh, in Ninja Steel?
Actually, I was referring to the one you keep calling a true Ultra Zord, where they're like stacked on each other's back.
This? I don't consider this an Ultra Zord. I was referring to the Ninja Steel one as an Ultra Zord.
Oh. Well, either way, this still moves like a bipedal creature, and I prefer it that way.
Burning through all his energy.
Planetium he has left.
Yeah.
Oh, we just come back from the commercial.
Yep.
We better use everything we have as well.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of now or never, so yeah.
Yep.
Move!
And we're going through all of them in order too. 7, 8.
Not recruitment order, but numerical order.
Yes.
Put an eye out! Look, if there's ever a
I will
chance-
admit, one of the things that does stretch out this whole climax is that anytime you have, the little check-in moment, it does take twice as long as it does with most other teams. Ooh, that's all kind of pretty. They're getting the power of all the Q-Tamas, aren't they? The universe is cheering for you. Yes, it is. Woo! You have the power of all 88 constellations. Nice. Nice. Ultimate Galaxy. There we go.
Because they've got their thing and they're all good.
Yep. Woo! Shiny!
I love how he's being run through with all the individual words.
Yep.
Oh, but it can.
Ooh, that is a large explosion. It takes a lot to impress me on explosion size in
I
this
should have
franchise.
picked up on that with,
Oh, he's still down there.
Oh, you can never get rid of it all.
Well, oof.
But
And
you
now
can make it
everybody's-
very small and keep it under control.
Everybody's free. Oh, there's Jira. Hey, Hoshimanado. Oh, and he's back to his previous form now.
And that's why I was saying the whole depression thing should have.
He's gonna try and possess them.
Show.
Oh, he's trying to possess.
Lucky?
Yeah, that's not gonna go well for him. Oh, Lucky's being shot back out into space again, just like in the first episode.
But the whole Corvus thing should have tipped us off to that.
To.
He's depression. That's why Corvus got along so well.
Right.
That's why he was willing to embrace him, because Corvus's whole thing was despair.
Yeah. So what's gonna happen now?
I wonder if what happens if he tries to inhabit Lucky is that all you wind up is a zero sum of having a regular guy who no longer has the power of luck.
He's the luckiest guy in the universe.
Nah, he's just that lucky. He is more lucky than John Armage is evil.
Whoa. He is riding in on a meteor again, because why not? That's what he does.
見上げて空に去っていくつ星がランダム覗いて抜けても集結者するなら We go この先に次元のストーリー触れた時見た時僕ら何を物だう
考えてわけないこと
雫スペースジャーニーやらない理由とか探さずにきらめきすぎちゅうよラッキースターキューレンジャー見果てる空突破したけキューレンジャー銀河ラブル中に超ラッキースターキューレンジャー君が開く未来見てみたいんだ時々する鳥が飛べ飛べ飛べ飛べ飛べ道が衝撃にし Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and good luck. Not bad from memory.
Nice.
We really did it, they say, as asteroids pelt the Earth.
Woo! Yeah! Then, by the power of the Kyuranger, 12 ultimate saviors appeared and saved the universe. Oh, that's great.
2
years later.
Oh, he must be reuniting with them. He's probably been on Earth with his family. Oh, he's just back from patrol. Haha, look who's the commander.
Kyuranger. 2-1. Oh, cute. Oh, I don't.
Let's do this.
Let's do this later. I want to see what's happening.
He's retired to his restaurant.
Hey.
Start reading the Universal Restaurant Review.
Nice.
Michelle Lambeau is retired too because Stinger is the commander.
Nice. How much more legendary do you want your cooking to get?
Talks about it. He's the president again.
Yeah. Legendary man's a living legend again. Yeah, that's fair. And then they're running through it again.
He's back in the wrestling ring.
Yep. Oh, they're rotating through all the different rangers in the red Q-Tom in the lower left. Yeah, he's still the supreme commander, just like he said he'd be. That's right, she's the teacher. It takes a few years. Nice, retrieving treasures that were pillaged.
They've become a recovery team instead of a thief team.
That's great. Yeah?
Confess! Confess your love! You know that's why he shoved her.
Yeah, pretty much. Lucky and Garu are traveling around.
Of course he's still got Garu with him.
Yep.
They said they'd be coming. They'll be here.
Nice. I'm sure that was the extended version of the theme too that we
tried to sing last
that we tried to do last time. They've got the little speeder and telescope, and Garu's got his own.
Talk about lucky my butt. The space scooter's busted and we're gonna be late.
Aww. I'm amused by Garu's helmet. Woo! Well, there you go. This is so cute.
It's interesting to me that of all the people here,
And there's Lucky.
yep, everybody who's retired from being a Kyuranger is wearing street clothes except for Naga, who's still wearing his Kyuranger jacket.
Yeah.
It's actually the only two people wearing theirs.
We're actually the only two wearing street clothes really are. Aw, thanks for watching this past year.
Oh, I'm cutting that
Oh,
down.
oh, hon, look.
The handoff!
The handoff. But who gets the handoff?
They're fighting over it.
Thief change and police change. Nice.
約束したんだよ俺たちは。君の願いを叶えよう。レパンコレクションを集めて。
I have to admit, this next season looks like it should be fun. This
I'm looking forward to it.
has been a pretty like crazy epic scope of a season, and I think that scaling it down and going with something that's a little different with this sort of fun rivalry going on between the two teams should be a good way to follow that up. Because let's face it, you cannot step up the escalation from Kyuranger right now.
Can.
Like,
So by having two teams, but that's probably the next best way to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
They're smaller, but there's two of them. So.
Yeah.
What do you mean they were hardly? Everybody was not wearing Kyuranger jackets except for Naga and Kotaru.
well,
But Zhou had ditched his jacket, which was now on Stinger.
wasn't he still wearing his jacket?
No, Stinger is.
Well, what was Joe wearing then? It looked like he was still wearing the same.
He was wearing what he usually has under it.
No, he's usually it's just a shirt underneath it. He was still wearing a jacket.
I don't know. It wasn't as
I
fuzzy as
think
he used to be.
no, I think you're imagining.
Okay, Spot is dressed as a chef.
Spot is dressed as a chef.
The president's
Hammy's
in a
dressed-
suit.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Sarugi's dressed in his suit. But I mean,
Hammy's in street clothes.
but Raptor and
Raptor's
is
never had a jacket.
yeah, she's still got her default, and then
Champ stitched his jacket. It was on his shoulder. It's not anymore.
oh, it wasn't on his shoulder. Oh, I didn't
Nope.
notice.
He's
Okay.
gone full luchador.
And then Balance is a paint job, so he's kept his.
Right.
So it's actually kind of split.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So we
So we
So
went
Matt-
and actually learned the lyrics in between last time and this time, and then they played it over.
yeah. So we
want.
want to. So let's
So to make
play.
this work, we are going to pull up the karaoke version that we've been practicing off of,
Yep. Where is it?
which incidentally does not have Romanji lyrics on it. So we have the lyrics
Yep.
here.
And I'll make sure to do a little wiggle there. So, you guys been waiting for it. Here we go. We get the lyrics this time. We're gonna get this.
We're gonna
Can you
do
get
this
this?
right.
High five it. Boom. Okay, it takes a moment for the YouTube to apparently actually queue up on our
Well,
queue.
yeah, I will. Q,
There we go.
Watch
Got
it
this?
be an ad now.
We got this. Nah, well, it'll be fun.
Alright.
Hasn't been that any other times. Come on.
Ranger, Ranger, oh Q Ranger,
Q Ranger. 3 heat, 2 1, oh Q. Ohio, Oshitama, Oshitama, Mabushi, Kete Toriyama, Tamaran, hi, tension high, hatache go go, Kira, na lucky, Q-tama, 3 heat, 2 1, oh Q. Q, Tama, Q, Mina de let's cute Tama dancing, Q, Tama, Q, Ichi, ni no san de chi, Q was so cute, Q, Tama, Q, Toru-chan no to, Mageshan, Q, Tama, Q, Ka-chan no mo, Atopu, Mageshan, 3, 2, 1, oh Q. Tama, Q, Genki ni naare, Tamare power, Q, Tama, Q, no 2, Q, Ranger, Sanjo. Hey, we got it. And, no, cancel.
You've been waiting all season for us to get it right.
Cancel the thing, don't
Don't play the next thing. YouTube keeps autoplaying.
It just... No, stop that. Stop it. Stop. Okay, there it goes. It's just auto-playing through whatever was next in YouTube.
Yeah, it's not even
It
like...
wasn't even like something we added to the queue.
No, it's just autoplaying. The way YouTube sometimes does. It's just like, I'm going to pick a new video for you. It's
All
vaguely
right.
related to what you just watched.
I feel, that felt satisfying. I mean, it was very, simple in a lot of
Yes.
respects. It's just, they fight the bad guy, they beat the bad guy, And then we get the little after party, which, makes sense. But
I just really like that part where they were all like groaning and moaning on the ground and having a really hard time, and each of them in
they
turn
were all standing up.
stood up like.
It was
the hardest thing in the universe. Like the despair was not just depression; it was also like 9 Gs.
Yeah. But I really like that we actually finally got an explanation of what Don Armaga is. Like, it's not a clear origin, but it is an explanation of what he is and where he comes from.
Everyone's despair, but everyone's despair has probably always been there. So what I'm wondering is
why he suddenly manifested.
Oh, I was going to say, what was the point of nucleation?
Yeah, pretty much. But
yes, that's a...
the same thing as far as where the Q-Tamas came from. I feel like it was just sort of an evolution of the universe. Energy in the universe was manifesting.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen them pop into existence, so it's not like they were created by anyone.
Yeah, it's one of those things that probably could have been clarified slightly better, but at the very least, it made just where he comes from, even if his point of origin is unclear. Just the fact that he is actually a manifest antithesis of
Lucky.
Of what they all are, really.
But because Lucky was never just about luck, he was also optimism.
Yeah, he makes his own luck. That's always been his thing. He's got the ultra optimism that makes him so lucky. He makes his own luck.
I could do with some of that ultra optimism. I don't know about you.
Well, yeah. But and that so that made it a very good counterpoint to
despair and defeat and just the general hopelessness of the universe.
Yeah. And so it actually felt right that this was sort of how they saved the universe, with hope and optimism overpowering despair. Like, symbolically, that's what they've been doing all season long, and so it felt like a natural conclusion. And the fact that each one of them had their own different pieces of that was also really nice. And actually, it even made me feel a little bit better on Spada and Hammy a little bit, as far as, because if you think about it, they were there from the beginning. And they never really had their, had big arcs or anything throughout the season, like most of the other characters.
But what they chose to say at that time did reveal things about their character.
They have always been in service to others. And so they didn't really have that evolution of overcoming despair for themselves. They were all about helping others overcome despair. And if you think about what their focus episodes have been, for the most part...
I mean, yes, Spada has always been the
He's always been all about raising everybody else's hopes.
And he
always
chooses to do that through food.
Yeah.
He's got his whole food thing, but the reason that he feeds people isn't just because their stomachs are hungry.
Yeah.
It's because good food not only fills your tummy, but lifts your spirits.
And if you look at the 2 episodes that Hammy had that actually called back to her backstory, etc., they were about using her past experiences to help raise up someone who was facing a challenge. In one case, it was the little girl on Planet Vela.
On the other time, it was Hoshi Minato.
Hoshi Minato. And it was taking her inspiration from him and giving it back to him. And so that actually helped. That was a really good character crystallization moment for everybody.
It really was. I could see how each thing that everyone said was actually a really good and meaningful thing to them individually. They weren't just saying any old optimistic thing. It was the kernel of optimism that is true for each of them.
And they each had their own different way of combating despair, whether for themselves or for others. And Garu's was in the first episode.
Altruism is also considered a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So by helping others, that is how Spada helps himself, for example.
Exactly. And now it placed in this context, that it was all about each of them learning to combat despair in different ways. Garu was basically their, that first instance of overcoming despair.
Was hugely despaired when they first encountered him.
They helped somebody overcome despair, and he became part of their team. He was always in the background as a character, and he, didn't really have anything else going for him throughout the season, but there was that clear moment of what he represented. He represented somebody who they helped to overcome despair, and he, to an extent, was a symbol of what they were doing for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, and then we had things like Jalampo, who always wanted to be Kyuranger to the point that he made his own Q-Tama that didn't really work, but because he tried so hard at it, he faked it till he maked it.
Yeah.
And the universe rewarded him for that.
Yeah.
Well, very similar to Raptor and her, she just dreamed hard enough to get it. Then, on the other hand, we also have, for example, Champ and Stinger. Theirs was, Stinger started the sentence and Champ ended it.
Mm.
Because he said, sometimes it gets, Stinger was saying that sometimes the despair can, in fact, win and take you over, and Champ said, but if you have friends, then they can help you come back to the light side. And that's important for both of them, because both of them had the thing with the person that they loved going over to the wrong side, or being part of the wrong side. I
really love how this episode just so clarified, it just brought the ethos of the show into such a sharp focus.
And then there's Kotaru, whose whole thing was like, if you try really hard, you can be big.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you're a child. And so, of course, your whole thing, like the despair of a child is that of, I am too small and too helpless to deal with this. I need an adult, Children look to the adults to solve their problems. And that's why everything is scarier for you when you're a kid. It's not just because you're inexperienced, but because you are that, like, literally, you are, a half-formed human being.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm brave and I'm big, even though he's little. It's
And I understand now a lot better why Lucky was such a sharp focus of the series, is because he represents that optimism and hope that, he's that embodiment of that force that they're all trying to master. And he's bringing it out in all of them. And at the beginning, it just felt like his luck was, being sort of a plot.
He's a Gary Stew. But it turns out he's not.
Yeah.
Oh, and then, of course,
he just happens to be the most optimistic person in the universe. Oh,
Tsurugi. He had his whole thing, where he used to be really freaking full of himself. And then he dealt with Lucky, and then he said that he was going to be Lucky's shield. And then when they all get into this thing, he said, no, he's not just Lucky's shield anymore at that point. He's saying, we're going to be the shield that protects all the other people.
Yeah.
We will stand and soak the damage. We will take the despair so they don't have to. So he came into to be less of a... He grew from somebody who wanted to...
He realized...
To be a legend.
Yeah.
To someone who wanted to actually serve the people that he was protecting.
Yeah.
Because people become heroes for two very disparate reasons. Yeah. And one of them is for recognition, and the other is because of a genuine desire to help people. Yeah. And he moved from one to the other over the course of the show.
And, it was also a little bit of both. I think, to an extent, he thought that... I think it was more so... And this is coming from a different angle with Tsurugi. I think it was more so, in his mind... the duty of the hero is to take it on yourself. And he evolved into, we all protect one another and share the burden together.
That too.
I think that was arguably even more so his character arc. So, yeah, everything in the series just sort of really came together very well at the end there, I think.
Mm.
There were always, a few little... dead spots, a few little uneven spots throughout the series, which you're chugging out
48 episodes.
Yeah, you're chugging out 48 episodes. You're not everything's
gonna have
be
some
perfect.
duds. I'm looking at you, Garu and Drag episode.
and the villains weren't.
Why is there a Kyutama for that?
The villains were a little uneven sometimes. We jumped around a little bit, but I'm glad that we finally really hammered down what Danarmage is, because that crystallized what they were fighting against.
It really did. Everything made more sense in retrospect once we knew what Danarmage is. And that's also how the whole thing I was saying with Cuervo.
Yeah.
Was that I called him Corvus at one point because he's a Corvid.
Well, he's also from Corvus.
Yeah. Cuervo is...
And that's his Kyutama.
His Kyutama had the whole Lotus Eater despair thing. Yeah. And he was sort of a sad sack.
Yeah.
So he was more... He would be one of those people that we consider to be predisposed.
Yeah.
Towards the direction that Danarmage wanted to push him in.
Yeah.
So he was a vulnerable individual.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is that sometimes, and I say this from experience, I'm not, trying to throw it on anybody else.
Yeah.
Sometimes, poor mental health can make you a complete jerk to your friends.
Mm.
And it's not because you're a bad person.
Yeah.
I really hope that in the cases where that has happened, that I hope my friends have forgiven me for the times I was a complete jerk to them because I was having a bad mental health time. Yeah. But you have to take responsibility for that eventually. And that's where Cuervo failed. Cuervo. Cuervo failed, is that when his friends came to try and help him get out of that, he basically spat in Tsurugi's face.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even though Tsurugi was standing there going, I realize that everything you have done thus far has been the result of this force which has overtaken you.
Yeah.
I want to be friends again. I've come here to pull you up. And he basically did.
Yeah.
Because in this case, it's a demonic entity that you can't expel.
Yeah.
And then Cuervo's just like, no, I still hate you. And it's like, well, guess that wasn't entirely your mental health, was it? You're actually a jerk underneath it all, too.
Yeah. And
whereas when had a hold of Tsurugi, he did a lot of awful things, but then when Tsurugi got spat out again, he was like, jeez.
Yeah.
Glad I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. And actually it's a little one kind of funny thing with talking about how basically despair and depression can lead your self-destructive tendencies to radiate outwards to affect other people who you care about. I mean, like I was saying in the last video, I was doing I was submitting to the Nick Ryder's program a spec of BoJack Horseman, which is all about that.
The whole freaking show is about BoJack Horseman's
it's how
issues spilling all over everybody around him.
It's an exploration of self-destructive behavior and how that affects those around you.
Yeah, he's just dumping it on everybody around him. But the sad thing about that show is that he never seems to fully grasp that he's doing it. So he never gets better because he never actively seeks to get better.
Well, basically, with that show, it's been a 4-year process of recognizing the problem and learning slowly, very slowly, how to combat it.
He's at what we would call the contemplative stage.
Yeah, because he's made several different attempts, and because each of them has not been a quick fix, he keeps abandoning them.
That's why I said he started the show pre-contemplative, now he's contemplative, but he hasn't yet gotten to the point where he can really do the work.
Yeah, although I think possibly by season...
deeply ambivalent about doing the work.
Yeah, by season 4, he's arguably doing the work, I would say.
We'll see. We'll see what season 5 has to offer.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where season 5 goes. Season 4 was great. But enough on BoJack Horseman. It was just something interesting because that's the other show I've been watching so much to work on that script.
There is a lot of allegory to be had here.
Yeah. Well, they took what was subtext throughout the series and made it text.
And made it text in the very last episode that retroactively made the whole thing into a really good allegory.
And one of the things that's always tricky about stuff like that is when you wait until the end, you risk losing out on storytelling opportunity.
You do.
Because it's like, oh, if we'd known this before, then we could have, actually
But I feel like in
explored
this
it.
particular case, it may actually give it some rewatch value.
Yeah.
Going back through it again, knowing what we know.
That's what you want. And that's what I think that worked well.
Yeah, they took a risk, but it paid off.
Yeah. Like, with a lot of things, when you have a sort of last minute reveal on something, you run the risk of people feeling like, okay, you hid this ball for too long unnecessarily. But I felt like it actually worked here.
Yeah, it did.
And it does recontextualize the rest of the show thematically.
And see, this is the sort of thing, this is why, and it's not just like out of a blind love for the genre, because there are a lot of stuff that I don't watch, but I do watch or consume a fair amount of Japanese media, because, they have the serialized stuff that goes on forever, which is pretty much the same as our serialized stuff that goes on forever, quality-wise.
Okay.
But their beginning, middle, end stories are often of I'm not going to say higher caliber, I'll say that they have a more challenging way of laying out their stories.
I feel like
I feel like a lot of the stuff that, like, if we were to watch something like a miniseries or whatever, everything would be fed to you as it comes up.
Yeah.
There's very little where you get to the end of something and go, now that's what that was about, and go back and rewatch it. But I can tell you that a lot of my favorite animes, for example, have that same thing going on.
I will admit,
like, if you know the end of Serial Experiments Lane, the beginning is a whole bunch different than it was the first time you ran through it.
Actually, one show I will admit actually pulled that off, and I recognize it was one of those shows where I was watching it, and I thought it was interesting, but I wasn't super into it. And then by the end of it, I'm like, okay, now I see what was the running thread through all this was.
Let me guess, Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls was kind of awesome throughout and just kept building.
Okay, which one was it then?
Over the Garden Wall.
Really? I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, well, it was a 10-episode miniseries.
And
so, again, when you have a clear
I think storytelling
end game in
of
mind.
any culture, in any genre, in any location, it's like Japanese media is one way, ours is another.
Yeah.
The UK has its own thing going on, which is very similar to Australia. They're sort of the same.
Yeah.
But any media that has a planned beginning, middle, end is going to be better than something that's serialized and drags on forever.
Generally speaking.
Because
it targets and focuses your story.
not only that, is that because you have a planned ending,
Yeah.
you don't drive your story into the ground and make everybody tired of it. You get to where the story ends, and you end there so you can go out on a high note instead of being canceled because everyone got bored of you.
I will also admit that the newer version of sort of binge serialized storytelling, it also is functioning in a similar way in its approach to seasons, where each season has a very clear structure to it.
Absolutely.
And I think that...
and
Power
Power
Rangers...
like the Stranger Things model there.
Power Rangers sort of started that in America to an extent, even though people don't
And I would
really
consider
think of it
that to
way.
be less of a serialized and more of a beginning, middle, end.
Yeah.
Because, I'm talking about serialized versus... I'm not talking serialized versus episodic.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, a commodity that has been created to be... We don't know where the story is going.
Right.
You can have a serialized story that doesn't know where it's going.
Yeah.
And you can have... Technically, you can use something... You would... serialized is probably the wrong word.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking, the difference between something which has a planned arc.
Yeah.
An architecturally structured story versus an open-ended story.
Well...
And open-ended stories don't go that well.
Well, yes and no. Here's what I'll admit. Because sometimes open-ended stories can really work. To an extent, although for instance, and I know you haven't watched all of it, but you have the gist of it. Breaking Bad is often considered one of the best television shows of all time by most critics, and they didn't know exactly how everything was going to pan out from beginning. They had an idea of what they wanted their character to do, but I don't think they had it fully planned out. Like, oh, it's going to be this many seasons. It's going to be 5 seasons, and this is how it's all going to be structured. You go through and you find what works as you continue an exploration of the character. But I think one of the things that's important, and this applies if you have both if you have an ending in mind and if you don't, for some of the best television on TV, is not being afraid of evolution and change. Generally speaking, if you have a clear end goal in mind, that means that the change is going to be happening throughout your series. You're going from one point to another. Or if you're exploring how a character evolves and changes, and that's your idea, that may be open-ended. But it's also going to continue moving forward. You have that continued
as opposed to
change.
something that just keeps doing the same damn thing week after week. I'm looking at you, Star Trek.
Like there are...
With the exception of Deep Space Nine, which eventually became arc-based, but
and we also we haven't watched Discovery yet. I'm going to say we haven't watched Discovery yet.
Because we have to pay for that.
Yeah, I've heard that one's a lot more plot intensive and story driven.
I'm all for story driven.
I
got so irritated by the end of Voyager.
Yeah,
it's like you spent all this time doing all that, and then you just are like, and fixed.
Yeah, it shouldn't be about dragging things out or always trying to just keep your audience going.
Dragging things out, we're looking at you lost, you had an end point and plan, but you didn't stop when you got there. No, you're like, we're too close to the end, so let's drive around the block a few times.
No, that's not quite how it went though. They hit their stumbling point about in like season 3-ish.
That's what I'm saying. When they got real close to where they wanted to go.
Well, they weren't close to where they wanted to go yet, though. They still had like 2 seasons more left worth of story.
But they saw that their audience was continuing, and they didn't want to only have 2 seasons left, so they circled the block for a few seasons.
They circled the block for like a season, and in circling the block during that season, they set up a bunch of storylines that they weren't able to really cut off by the end of things.
Yeah.
That's more so what happened. But that's the thing.
They should have gone straight through. They should have just finished the story from where they started it, and it probably would have been a lot more narratively satisfying and well constructed, but they chose to go around the block a few times. Now that is one of the cool things about both Sentai and Power Rangers, especially now that Power Rangers is following the same model as Sentai, where it has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
And Power Rangers has been following that model for about 20 years now. Since Space, which, was just so narratively satisfying.
Yeah. Because that brought us Countdown to Destruction.
Yeah, and they have the 2-year structure now, which
that's fine. It's still beginning, middle, end.
Which should work, but they've yet to really nail that one, unfortunately.
I'm not going to blame that on the 2-year structure, though.
It's true. No, that's not the fault of the 2 years. They just haven't figured it out. Because you want to look at 2 years, 20 episodes a season. Something that nailed it was Gravity Falls.
Because they're still, at this point, trying to, I think...
They found the end of their story, and they went for it.
I mean, it has been a few years, but because they have to keep reinventing themselves every 2 years, it's taking them a little while to get their feet under them. Ever since I guess you would call the Neo-Saban era?
Yeah.
Because they are also looking into... Like, for the longest time, it had a very consistent idea of what it was doing.
Yeah.
But as you have pointed out before, they are... tweaking it and aiming for different demographics than before.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to change what audience you're writing for, but continue using the show that you've been using for forever, there's a balance issue there.
The pacing and structure also gets thrown off by the new airing schedule as well.
Oh, yeah, that I blame Nickelodeon for. You can't even blame Saban for that one.
But it's something they've also...
They have to struggle with that.
They've had a number of years to accommodate for at this point.
Fair enough, but I mean, do we know that they know what the schedule's going to look like beforehand, or does Nickelodeon just take it as a package and go, "We're going to cut at this awkward spot"?
They know at this point that it's going to be 20 episodes per season, and there's going to be a big break right around the 8th episode in, which it actually has been consistent the last few times, and they have ended at a, like usually a 6th Ranger introduction or something like that.
Okay, so they do have a consistent idea. They don't...
Yeah.
Because my concern is if they don't know where Nickelodeon's going to drop that break, it's hard to account for.
It wasn't consistent for the first few years, until the 4th year with Super Mega Force was the first time that it ended on 8 episodes. Because it started with Samurai, they showed like the first 14 episodes. And then with Super Samurai it was 13. And then with Mega Force it was 9, which threw me off when I was in year 1 of Power Reviews. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing my classic reviews now instead of once the summer hits.
I thought it was 13 or 14 episodes, and suddenly now it's only 9. What happened?
So that threw off my structure a bit.
I'm sure it threw their structure off a bit too.
Yeah.
Because they weren't planning to have a break there in the story when they filmed everything.
Probably not. I don't know what they were planning. I don't know
Probably somewhere around 13, 14 like it had been previously, and then they got...
Well, they're also, even within Megaforce, I don't think there was anything particular that happened around that time.
Megaforce.
Yeah, exactly. And then Super Megaforce ended at 8, and then everyone afterwards, they've had their mid-season finale at 8.
I don't know, Dino Thunder did alright with it.
Dino Charge! Dino Charge. Yeah, well, ish. Well, Dino Supercharged, their 8th episode
Dino Supercharged
was a filler.
Had a problem.
Dino Charge at least ended on something of a new storyline kind of starting, cliffhanger kind of thing with the being inside Fury that was later revealed to be Ivan. And that was
that we all totally thought was going to be Tyler's dad.
It was, well...
That was a really good red herring.
That was kind of a 50-50 split, I think, for people. Like, there were plenty of people who also figured that it was going to be the Gold Ranger.
Well, I kind of figured it would be both.
Yeah, you thought that Tyler's dad would be the Gold Ranger, which is also fair.
Yeah, I don't know. Dino Charge came out real well, I think.
It's definitely
Aside
been the best.
Aside from, the fact that y'all decided to break the universe in the last episode.
It's definitely been the best of the bunch.
Let's suck the Earth into a black hole and bring back dinosaurs. What the?
Anywho.
This actually ended quite nice.
This did end quite nice. But it was like, bring it back to Kyuranger.
Yes, that's what I was doing.
Thank you.
Also, I know they didn't... it was the same kid, clearly. I don't know if they gave him lifts or just a different
Katara looked a bit older. I don't know how they pulled that.
They pulled that off very well. Katara looked like it had been a couple years.
Unless maybe, it was like his older brother or something.
Does he have a 2 years older brother? I don't know.
I would need to do a comparison.
I mean, it's also entirely possible, like I said, that they just changed his hair some and gave him lifts. But, well done.
Yep.
However you manage that. Either he has a brother who looks a darn awful lot like him.
Right.
Or, wardrobe and makeup did a great job.
Right.
Or they waited and filmed that scene, like...
But yeah, I can't really remember, like, it's so rare that you get a finale that clarifies the ethos of a series so well and makes it a character-driven climax, which is great. For 12 characters, that is really impressive.
And to think, we came into this at the very beginning, I kept calling it bubblegum.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is bubblegum sci-fi. Okay, whatever, we're going to have a light, completely...
Oh, there are plenty of gumballs.
Completely vapid season going on
gumballs
here. But it was not vapid at all.
No.
It gave that impression initially, but it's...
For like maybe the first 10 episodes.
Yeah.
But, and...
Well, I don't think I said it again after the first 10 episodes.
Yeah.
It was something I said in like the first 3 or 4. I was just like, eh.
Well, I don't know if I mean, in terms of tone, I guess that's fair. But in terms of the content, like, like RPM, they're fighting against a villain who had already won, while still making it, kind of fun, and RPM leaned more into sardonic humor.
Which I'm definitely more a fan of.
Whereas this one leaned more heavily into optimism.
Yeah.
which I think worked very well for it, as that became sort of its clear thing. Oh, I just realized something. Can this?
I told you.
You never told me. What are you talking?
I said wings on the back, and you said they don't put wings on the back.
Well, they never did on the show, but apparently those wings can go on the back. Oh, that's delightful.
You sure they never did that? I thought they did once.
Maybe they did in the first. Maybe they did when they first introduced her Zord, and I just forgot. But I
know I didn't see.
That's
more
delightful.
than
I didn't realize. How did I not realize I could do that? That's great.
I don't know. We just keep finding more fun things about these things.
That's great.
I am so glad that both me and Vac had the same idea. It's like, let's get Jake the Zord from Japan, because the Bandai America stuff is just not cutting it for the adult collector anymore.
I mean, unless you want to shell out
For Legacy.
For Legacy, and even then, only for certain products.
Some of the Legacy stuff is really sweet.
Yeah.
But
well, they're specifically their props. Yeah, their prop.
Dragon Dagger.
Their prop toys are really nice. Yeah, I do have the Dragon Dagger. Is excellent. They've recently released images. I don't know if it's in stores yet or not for the Golden Power Staff, which looks great.
But I was more specifically referring to the Bandai America Zords.
Yeah, their standard line has been really subpar for a number of years now. Honestly.
Ever since Operation Overdrive.
Yeah, and it just dropped in quality during the Neo Saban era. Honestly, though, I'm surprised it took as long as it had for people to get frustrated with it.
Yeah, because you got frustrated with it right off the bat. You're like,
well, back in Overdrive, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, but this doesn't. Are you kidding me? And then Samurai came out, and you're like, I can't make origamis.
I couldn't make the origamis. They just felt lighter and cheaper.
Yeah, when I was holding this, I was like, geez, this is heavy compared to Bandai ones.
This
Well,
feels
they're also
like
Bandai Japan.
the way it was back in like
the American ones got light there for.
Yeah.
They probably still are. I was going to say for a while. This is not American.
Well,
this is Japanese.
Well, I think probably one of the best Zord lines that we got was probably Dino Thunder. That was a really good Zord line.
Yeah, I mean you pointing at your
my
office.
cabinet's in the other room.
But no, I loved playing with your dinosaurs.
Well, one of the great things is they had the little mechanism that could work.
It worked the drill. It worked the thing.
Yeah, that little motor mechanism that worked across multiple different Zords. That's remarkable.
That was great.
That was a fantastic gimmick. Oh, I would love to see something like that again in a Zord.
And the Wild Force one was pretty cool too.
Wild Force was
Armadillo
nice.
Zord.
Armadillo Zord's great. It's super cute.
Armadillo Zords.
One of the nice things with Wild Force was they still used some die cast in that, which is great.
Yeah. But the last time that the Bandai America toys were really quality, I think, was Mystic Force.
Yeah, Mystic Force was still a beautiful line.
Well, because the thing is, in Mystic Force, they were still using the Japanese molds.
But I will admit, during Dino Thunder and Mystic Force, we did run into the issue of they just weren't releasing everything, which was weird.
But that's what I was saying. They were still using the Japanese molds. So if you ran into the problem that you ran into, where you really wanted that one, I was able to get you.
That's true, and
the one from Japan,
Centaurus
and it
Wolf
was compatible.
Centaurus Wolf was compatible with Titan Megazord, Wolkaiser was compatible with Titan Megazord because they never released Centaurus
But
Wolf.
if you bought a Japanese
they're
toy
different now.
It would not be compatible with the American
Which
version.
is a shame.
Because Bandai America it's very clear that the Legacy line, they've split it.
Yeah.
The Legacy line is now for the adult collector, and the Zords and the action figures that Bandai America is putting out are for the kids.
Yeah.
So if you're not into a prop, then you got to get the import.
So off the toys and back onto the show again for a bit. One thing that I feel like, and this is something that's...
Oh, and this means you can use all of them at once, too.
This is
now
something
you don't have one sitting around.
that's interesting that the Sentai seasons I've seen, I think, have hit on much better than Power Ranger seasons I've seen. And having that clarity of theme that comes to a culmination in the finale is not really something that Power Rangers has been able to hit on.
Well, that's part of what I was talking about with the beginning, middle, end stories. They often have a very narratively satisfying end that ties together a bunch of threads from the show.
Well, that's the thing is that Power Rangers has yet to, even though it always has that beginning, middle, and end, it rarely really ties together threads in its finales, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's much more narratively satisfying if you put a neat bow on it.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a few points like,
Countdown to Destruction was good, because that brought us, all kinds of characters from the past, doing the whole Spartacus thing. I am the Red Ranger!
One of the things that I think really made, the things that made Countdown to Destruction really work were a number of things. One is that, there was all the continuity and nostalgia and it feeling like a culmination of 5 years, which is, a lot of people use that as, and say, that's why it's a good finale for that era, but it doesn't really stand by itself. And I actually argue against that point, because Countdown to Destruction also brings to a culmination a number of different character dynamics and the seasonal arc. Finding Zordon was a seasonal arc. The United Alliance of Evil, Conquering the Universe, was a seasonal arc. Andros searching for his sister, seasonal arc. The relationship between the complex relationship between Ecliptor and Astronema and Andros, and Ecliptor and Andros as combatants. Those three characters fighting in that final scene is immensely powerful, and I think
Zane, please don't date my sister.
I think it's underplayed a lot of time. The whole thing, Krovian rebels were tied into everything.
Yes.
Darkonda and his treachery.
Darkonda!
Which they had been highlighting from his introduction, that you do not trust this person.
No, you don't.
And it came back to literally bite Dark Spectre in the back.
Shouldn't have trusted him.
So it's not just a culmination of, the seasons that came before. It's very much a culmination of the stories that were set up internally. And I think that makes it really powerful. Like,
you know what actually it kind of reminds me of?
Mm-hmm.
Although Countdown to Destruction came first.
Yeah.
The successive Davies era Doctor Who finales.
Yeah.
Where each of them, they would, bring together a whole bunch of threads from the season.
Yep.
But also pull in some threads from previous seasons.
Right.
But the thing of it is that yes, there was plenty of focus on its own season as well.
Right. I feel like not enough people really. One of my favorite scenes in Countdown to Destruction is actually that final duel between Andros and Ecliptor right before Andros strikes Zordon's tube. And it's just that it feels so. It feels honestly a little Shakespearean tragedy in that moment, in that you see, and it's one of the few scenes in Power Rangers I think of that way, because you see somebody trying to reach to someone that they care about, and they can't, and it leads to their death, albeit a temporary one. Which then the person who has been by their side all this time comes in, sees it, and you have two people fighting who both clearly care for this fallen person in very different ways.
That's true.
And that is just a fantastic scene. You have them going back and forth. How could you do it? Your own sister. Oh, my poor princess. Like, Ecliptor is such a tragic character. I love Ecliptor. And you don't get threads like that coming to a culmination like that anymore.
No.
And I really would love to see more of that. And I feel like this was a very good, in Kyuranger, this was a very good culmination of threads.
It was a terrific culmination of threads. And I think one of the things about it that...
And it was threads we weren't even fully aware of.
That's what I'm saying, that made it even more impactful was the fact that some of the threads you didn't even see until they got wrapped into it.
Yeah, they were all crystallized into a single common theme and ethos, fully saying, hey, this is what this fight has been about this whole time. And you don't get to see that very often.
I mean, that's some retroactive Babylon 5 stuff going on.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I still feel,
I've watched that at least a
tooting
dozen times, and I still find new things.
Yeah. Honestly, tooting my own horn a little bit, from the other side of things as a creator.
DRPR.
For those of you who haven't already seen it, the reveal at the end of year 1 was very much the culmination of a bunch of little things that I'd put in place that...
Well, they were specifically for that purpose.
Yeah, they were all leading up to a big reveal moment.
And the thing I liked about that so much was really that you kept wondering if you were being too blatant.
I was wondering if I was either being too blatant or if I was not setting it up well enough, and I really liked that everybody felt like it was a surprise, and it was but it was one that felt like a natural evolution of what had come before. And that's honestly...
That's the trick to do it just like Kyuranger.
That's what I think happened here with Don Armagi. And you know what, some people might have predicted, oh, he's probably just... And I think that on an undercurrent we may have been like, oh, he's just a manifestation of evil in the universe. But clarifying it in that way of hope versus despair, I think, was a very nice choice. And I think...
It's one of those things that you didn't see coming, but when it happens, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
And I think it was great that they took
really good
each character and they made them a different means of hope versus despair in little subtle ways. And that, I think, was very smart.
Definitely.
And something that you didn't necessarily pick up on, that was a commonality of theme. Mm-hmm. And another thing is that it's so easy for something like this, hope versus despair, etc., to come across as, where, you can fight off depression by just being optimistic enough. But it didn't feel that way.
No, that's what I was saying about the whole...
And part of that was because you had 12 different points of view on it.
Yeah, and it was clearly not easy.
Yeah. And it's all about...
I heard that when I was explaining it that way, some people might actually feel like, that's not that easy.
Right.
Believe me, I know it's not that easy.
They mention how support systems are important, how helping others can be important in combating. You combat despair in others, you combat it in yourself.
How
you
even if it
you
takes
let
you
others
over,
reach
it's
out
not
to you.
too late to go back.
Yeah. Like with Garu, from the... even if you've surrendered to despair, if you can, accept that help from others, you can find the hope within yourself again.
That was actually Champ.
That as well.
He's the one who said that.
Okay. Well, Garu also, because he had that was his arc in the first episode.
Yeah. When they were having the conversation at the end there, because Stinger was like, and sometimes you fall to the darkness, and Champ was like, but if you have friends, they can help you get back up again.
And it also works.
And that's why they had
with
the same sentence together, because that was sort of the relationship that they had.
Yeah, and that also fits in again with the character dynamics that we were talking about before, and this again ties into support structures. How you have different levels of support. You have a group of support, but you also have individuals who you more tightly connect to. And share support with. You support them, they support you, and then you also exist within a slightly broader, slightly looser network.
And
but but still also provides extra.
And for the purposes of demonstrating this, a series with this many Rangers was actually an ideal situation to model such a support system, because 6 people is not enough.
Yeah, because maybe you do have like let's say for instance. Married partner.
You have a married partner.
You
might have a best friend.
Yeah.
You have some relatives. And you have some friends who can support you, but they're not as tight with you, but they'll be all like, hey, let's all go get something to eat.
And honestly, if you're married, that person is your primary support. You are their primary support. But that is not necessarily enough to always work as you go through life. You should have also friends. You should have groups that you feel like you can be comfortable within. Otherwise,
Family,
you will
whether
still
blood
feel
or chosen.
Yeah. Otherwise, you could still feel a level of isolation, and no matter how great a partner you have, you may still feel in isolation if you don't have that larger support structure. And in Kyuranger, like for instance, Balance and Naga, they are a tight
pair.
They are partners, but it took the entire structure to really
reach Naga when he went dark.
Right, because you know that one person, yes, that person will always be there for you, but to an extent, that they become an exception almost.
To different extents and did different things. Because, for example, you know, the other friends were fighting to try and get him back, but and that doesn't mean that they're any less good friends to him. You know, obviously he has a closer relationship with Balance, but his other friends matter too. Even if Balance was the only one who said, "You're gonna go through all this pain, and I'm gonna choose to stand here and go through all of it with you."
Yeah.
Like, that was like a major grand gesture when he decided to throw himself in the way of the big attack.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you have friends who can support you at different levels. And yes, Balance could support him like that, but it wouldn't necessarily be fair to expect that of, say, Hammy.
Yeah.
Because that's not how their relationship
But
is.
also you look at the different levels of the different characters as well. Like, for instance, for our first two bonus rangers after the initial 9, Shorampo basically demonstrated how you can never be too old to achieve your dreams. Kataro demonstrated you can never be too young to achieve your dreams. So you can be human, you can be alien, you can be a robot bull, what have you.
And even little robot girls deserve love.
Yeah, exactly. That I might went a weird place on that one. Anyway, it's Japan.
This is not Chobits.
No, everything was very sweet. You know, it ended on an optimistic note, and it ended in a way that felt right.
It was narratively satisfying.
Because that was sort of the question from the beginning of the series is, how do you fight off a threat that has taken over the entire universe already? And eventually they cut to the core of that by the very end when they said, you overcome despair with hope. And that was really what it was all about. You finally managed to trim away everything else surrounding it. You trim away all the magistrates and the ministers and the vice and the
all the bad
vice
coping
shoguns
mechanisms and the other things that you blamed and the thing you thought was the problem, but really you were just projecting onto that.
And then you finally cut to the core of it, and you are fighting this despair that is overtaking everyone you know by being a beacon of light and hope to fight it off.
Well, but in the end, he wasn't just being a beacon for himself.
Yeah.
Lucky was a beacon for everyone else. He had to be a beacon for himself.
Yep.
By which I'm referring to him as Lucky.
Yeah.
He was coming. The Don Arage was coming at him head on.
Yep.
Because it isn't just other people. You have to dig yourself out as well.
Yep.
If you give up, no matter how good of a support system you have, if you're giving up,
Yep.
they will not be able to pull you up.
And you know what? Among other things, we got some great bookends with him flying into that meteor storm again, and crashing with his scooter and all the goofy fun of seeing everybody where they wanted to be in their lives. And there's something extremely satisfying about that. This ended in a very, I think, satisfying way, emotionally speaking.
Yes.
Like, maybe there could have been some more, narrative complexity in some points.
Was it cheesed a little? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, very.
Absolutely.
But it felt...
Was it awesome and fun?
It felt
Absolutely.
right. It felt right. And I think with that, we've probably been getting close to an hour and a half now.
Ooh. Yeah.
Because we've just been gushing, really.
We have been.
And we have gone off on some interesting tangents, I think, in terms of applying this finale to other series and to the series as a whole.
And to the genre.
So yeah, I'm feeling very positive.
Looking forward to Lupin Ranger
versus Patranger. Am I gonna have to take the side of the Popo just because you're so intent on taking the side of the Gentleman Thieves? Well, I need to keep reminding people there's another half to the title, apparently. Alright. So, yeah, I guess next week, Lupin Ranger vs. Patranger. And, of course, Ninja Steel in between, and hopefully another DRPR before then. Still got a lot of editing left to do. I thought I was farther along than I was. I still gotta get this. I got
another effects shot.
Well, I do have a major effects shot I'm trying to get the hang of. It's just as one. It's really just as one shot for this one little sequence. But I'm trying to make it prettier than the way certain aspects of it have been in the past.
Hey, this is what happens when you do all your own special effects in-house.
Yep. Plus, delays with filming, etc., etc., etc. So, enough of that. Enough of us. Enough of the Kyurangers, who have given us a great journey over the course of this past year. And thank you to all of you who have followed along with us through 48 episodes of live reactions to Kyuranger.
Thanks to those people who are still hanging around on Patreon.
Yeah, big thanks to our Patreon subscribers, contributors. I want to do right by you this year. I'm going to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, you still have all those...
I'm so overwhelmed by everything all the time.
All those,
between classes, tutoring, and
the request videos.
And everything else. I'm going to try and make some things right this year. But until then, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.
Yosha
Lucky!